Daniele Zonca, Senior Principal Software Engineer at Red Hat.
Yep.
Welcome to AI Tinkerers Milan.
Thank you for the invite.
What brings you here? What did you talk about today?
Well, in the highly regulated industry, like for example bank, financial, one of the challenges about AI is really about how can I adopt a similar technology in my environment that are constrained. So today I was presenting a bit of a survey about the gap compared to what they are probably already familiar with about deploying and managing application, to say like what you needed to really focus if you wanted to deploy and bring AI in production in those kind of environments.
Mm-hmm. I saw your demo,
yeah.
Very impressive. I like that a lot. Aside from the challenge you just mentioned, was there anything else that you encountered that you thought was a big obstruction?
To build a demo, do you mean? Well, yeah. Let's say the ecosystem is really moving faster, so it's really hard to even consolidate like exactly how to implement a different component. Red Hat built everything in open source, and we are really part of the open source community. So one of usually the challenges that let's say I expect that the methodology that I presented is like going to be more or less stable, while the technology is still evolving a lot. So it's always hard when a customer asks about an advice or what is a safe bet and what is a not safe bet.
Yeah, okay. For those of us who are, let's say, not engineers or less technical, why does this matter?
Well, it matters because maybe customers are already familiar with predictive AI because it's like it's more, I would say, it has been adopted in the last maybe 5+ years, so they know how to manage, they know the risk. While when you approach generative AI, one of the biggest differences is that it's essentially you are using a model built by someone else, not for your specific use case, but it's built for a sort of multitask. They can do many different things. They're able to do summarization, but they can even do analysis. And in a similar scenario, the model creator usually provide the data to say like my model it's good or bad, but of course they do that from a sort of general purpose, or if you will, academic approach to say like that is a generic definition of good, and that's define my accuracy. So you really need to care because you're really bringing a sort of external, let's say, behavior that you don't control, and you cannot just trust what the vendor is telling you, even because the vendor has no way to test against your data, because all this kind of analysis has been done using, let's say, publicly available data set. So doing the proper model evaluation, red teaming to verify like a test if the system is able to prevent like a pretty complex attack, and then the runtime guardrailing aspect. They are all ingredients that you need to keep in mind where you want really to move from POC to production.
So really giving people a checklist.
Yeah,
almost
yeah. It becomes really at a certain point, the more the organization becomes more mature about generative AI adoption, and the more like it's going to become really like you do for software that is like, okay, you have some security guidelines that you have to implement, and they have a way to detect if your application is following that or not. Even for generative AI is going to be the same. Okay,
so for those people who are just getting started in regulated industries, any tips? What would you suggest they try?
At the moment, like there are like many different projects and approaches. So there is not, I will say, well-defined or a winning methodology or approach. The general advice is that really think about lock-in risk since the beginning. Now every single cloud provider is providing every day a new interesting project, trying to own more and more, of course, of the usage. That's why initiative like Linux Foundation, so everything that is open source, that is like open standard, try to at least mitigate the risk that you are doing something, you're moving very fast, but in reality you are locking in more and more with a particular vendor. So it's really like a bit of a trade-off between the speed, let's say even operational complexity that you can manage, but that should be one of the metrics that you should consider since the beginning.
All right, Daniele Zonca, thank you very much.
Welcome.